What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by Rafael Barlowe from Locked On NBA Big Board to discuss the top two prospects in this year's NBA draft, Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson, going head-to-head in a pair of exhibition games this past week. What stood out watching Scoot Henderson and Victor Wembanyama go head-to-head, and what possibly would have to happen for Wembanyama to not be the consensus number one overall pick in this next year's NBA draft? We're going to get there in just a moment after a quick message from our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your football betting info and odds this season. Find the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every single game that you can get your hands on. Right now, you can go to BetOnline to take a look at who the odds-on favorites are for this year's NBA championship. Right now, the Golden State Warriors leading the way at plus 575. You got the Boston Celtics at plus 625. The Milwaukee Bucks firmly in third place at plus 700. And then rounding out the top five NBA title favorites, you got the Brooklyn Nets and the LA Clippers both at plus 750 a pop. So for all of that and more, head over to betonline.net to learn more about the trends in action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Joining us now is Rafael Barlowe from Locked On NBA Big Board. You can follow on Twitter at Barlow500. Rafael, you were in person for this marquee matchup between Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, and we're going to dive into a little bit of both these prospects, the two kind of consensus guys at the top of this next year's NBA draft. Some, really, really impressive prospects. We're going to talk about their game and all that, but I just want to know, first off, what was the atmosphere like kind of heading into the first matchup between these two prospects this past week?
The atmosphere was different. It was like an atmosphere that I've never experienced before, and I probably can say the same for anyone else that was there. I mean, it's an exhibition game. It's a showcase game. That's kind of like in the middle of the Europe, not the middle, but it's during the European season. It's like way before preseason, and it was like this game that, you had these two hyped prospects, but rarely do we ever see like anything live up to the hype, and it succeeded it. So like before the game, it was just tons and tons of front office personnel and scouts, and it was definitely a pro Scoot crowd. So as you can imagine, the game was in Vegas. The Ignite plays in Vegas. It did have quite a bit of friends and family there, and so it was definitely, at least to from my experience, was a pro Scoot crowd that people were very skeptical about Wembanyama coming into the game.
You talk about living up to the hype, right? When you look at just the way that these two guys went at each other, Scoot versus Wemby. I mean, that first game, Wembanyama with 37 points, he had 4 boards, 5 blocks, 7 made 3-pointers. And the Scoot Henderson, 28 points, 5 boards, 9 assists. I absolutely agree. I think that it lived up to the hype kind of going into this. And it was a unique kind of environment to have the consensus top two prospects in kind of this exhibition style game against one another, because you've got Wembanyama playing for Metropolitan, you've got Scoot playing for the G League Ignite, so there are no there's no red tape, right, for like the NCAA or college or anything like that. It's just, all right, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna coordinate these two games. And outside of this, just when we look at Wembanyama as a prospect, I don't think the NBA, we've never seen a guy like this. So I want to give you a kind of a fill in the blank here, Rafael. Wembanyama has the chance to be blank.
There's no limit. There's no limit to his potential. We've never seen anything like it, like you said. So it's kind of like, how do we even put a cap on what he can be? And of course, with any prospect, and not just because of his frame, but with any prospect, to live up to the hype as far as like, having a long career, in order to be one of the greats, you have to play a lot of years. I mean, if you think about it, LeBron is at like 20 years, Kareem played 100 years, Kobe played 20 years. So in order to be like in that category, you usually have to play 20 years, which is an outlier in a sense. I mean, of course, you got your Michaels and your Magics and your Birds that play less than that, but they won a significant amount of championships. I mean, almost like maybe 40% of their seasons ended with a championship at worst. So, but I mean, as far as like individual talent, like I said, we've never seen anything like it. So it would be tough to just put a ceiling on what he can be. I mean, 7'5", which he's, he measured 7'4", but you play the game with shoes on. So on the court, he's 7'5", 8-foot wingspan. He can handle, he can shoot, he can make shots. Doesn't really need anybody to set him up. And I mean, there's so much to his game. And then there's also like different parts of his game that I feel like we didn't really get a chance to see in this showcase. So sky's the limit.
What specifically, if there's like one specific part of his game that you don't think he got a chance to kind of showcase in these couple matchups, what would that be?
Being a vertical lob threat. I mean, he probably caught a couple lobs, but the first game, if you notice, they were like trapping him because his point guard is small. And it kind of shows why you don't really see small point guards in the NBA anymore. And when they trapped him, and it's no knock on Tremont Waters, who's a very good scorer, but when they trapped him, it was taking the lob away from after he had one early in I want to say in the first quarter of the first game. And after that, he had to get his points by popping out. So it was just all pick and pops. And I think like in the NBA with floor spacing, when you have, guys around him that are known for knocking down shots, and you have a big point guard that can see over the top of the trap, and then you can throw the ball to a level above the rim that only he can get to. I mean, he's not, you know what I mean? Like if you throw the ball up 14 feet, he can do it. He has an 8-foot wingspan and he's athletic on top of being 7'5". So I just say, like, imagine him, with where you have the threat of him being like this super vertical lob threat. And that's something that we didn't really get a chance to see.
Well, talking a little bit, we'll change gears here, talking a little bit about small point guards. Scoot Henderson, who had, again, a fantastic game. I thought he came out, this was like his chance, right? Wembanyama is I can't say kind of, is consensus number one. Scoot was coming out, trying to bat 1,000 to be like, no, like, proving that he deserves to be in that conversation alongside Wemby, right? Not a clear-cut 1 and 2, maybe making the case for why he should be the number one overall pick. Who does Scoot Henderson's game remind you of? Because to me, there's like, I can't pinpoint maybe one player. The closest I can get is if I like mash up like 2 or 3 different guys together. Yeah. And that's what I think of when I see Scoot's game.
Yeah, I mean, I see a little Steve Francis. I see some Derrick Rose. I mean, I've seen some people compare him to John Morant. I think they're both athletic, but Scoot has more of a controlled athleticism. It's like, it's very rare to see somebody that is as athletic as he is and as explosive, but has so much control and pace to his game. It's not like he's just has these relentless drives and assaults to the rim like a John Morant, but it's like it's just all under control. And out of all the point guards that I've seen him compared to, I don't think we've seen a better point guard as far as shooting at the same stage. And when I say that, I mean, like, usually guys that are like known for like really being athletic, shooting is like the last stage in their development because they're so used to being able to get to the rim whenever they want to on the prep level, or even on the college level. And he's an advanced shooter. I mean, the numbers don't support it. Last year from 3, shot 21% from 3, but he was 17 and he was adjusting from high school to the NBA 3-point line. But he was one of the best mid-range shooters in the G League. So with the year of experience playing with the NBA 3-point line and the work that he put in, I think by the time he is a rookie in the NBA, he's going to be a plus shooter, which is not something we normally see from really, really explosive athletic guards.
Yeah, I think it's when you're looking at him, right? It's almost like his athleticism at times maybe even overshadows his control, his measured approach to the game. I was actually kind of shocked watching to see, right? I don't think anybody would have been upset with him for just trying to take it to Wembanyama's chest every single possession that he was in the game, which he did a fair amount. He did a good amount of that, but he also made like the right reads, the right plays in transition, setting guys up. Like he was very much in control, especially in that first game.
Yeah, and I feel like both guys came into the game with a little something to prove. And I know for Scoot, it was, all right, we know you can score, we know you're athletic, we know you can shoot the mid-range, but can you knock down the NBA 3? And then also, can you show us that you've made improvements and strides as a playmaker and a passer? And I think he did that. And actually, I mean, I think if you had to grade him based off of the one game that he played, you'd have to give him an A. Like, I don't think there's anything that he could have done better. He got the win. He had 9 assists. He took care of the ball. He played under control. I mean, yeah, he did have 3 of his shots blocked by Wembanyama, but you have to love the fact that he challenged him. And I want to say he made maybe 2 or 3 on Victor. So it's like he shot 50% on attacking him. But yeah, man, I thought he played extremely well. It was just unfortunate that they banged knees early in the second game and we didn't get a chance to see a sequel because, I mean, the first game exceeded so many expectations. Like, I was in France the week before, so I saw Victor play twice. I had a long flight, so I had plenty of time to think about, okay, what is going to happen in this showcase? And, usually these showcases don't live up to the hype. There's usually, a dud or guys are pressing. But no, both guys put on a show. So Scoot has nothing to be disappointed about as far as like his play. It's just like LeBron said, Wembanyama's an alien.
I wonder if that nickname is going to stick, and I also wonder if Sam Cassell is going to take exception to that nickname sticking. I will say
but they were called aliens for different reasons.
Last thing here for you, Rafael. But look, we are a long way out from the draft, right? A lot of things can change between now and next year's draft. But besides injury, what would have to happen for Wemby to not be the consensus number 1 overall pick between now and then?
Oh, chances are slim. Really, really slim. I think that, maybe it's a team that feels like it's a guards game. That's the only thing I can think of. A team says, bigs are great, but Scoot is going to be like the quarterback that has the ball in his hands a whole lot more, and he has a better opportunity to control the game. Doesn't really need anybody to get him the ball. He controls everything, just, kind of like your star quarterback. And so if there is that type of mindset and thinking, which I don't think there's anything wrong with it, then if all it takes is one team, to be honest with you, I mean, we saw Anthony Bennett go number 1. So all it takes is one team. And if there's a team that thinks that, him as the quarterback could be more impactful, then, there's an opportunity there.
How will Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson look as we progress through this year and leading up to the NBA draft? Who will be the number 1 and number 2 overall picks this next year? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On NBA. Big board, Rafael. I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime you need me on, let me know. We can make it happen. I love talking draft, so this is fun.